Would a Jesse Plemons and a Jesse Plemons on the Forbes wealthiest list be attention holding? Today is Wednesday, 26 August 2026, and I'm Tanis Hers of Seattle. And in honor of my birthday or half birthday, I've decided to do some kind of like sharing of concepts, providing my perspectives and ruminatings and musings and that kind of thing. So this one is ruminating about if a Jesse Plemons, where Jesse is spelled Plemons, and a Jesse Plemons, where Plemons is spelled Plemons, on the Forbes wealthiest list would be attention holding, including what might make it interesting for myself. So this is not a set. I'm working on my video description as I'm doing this. This is not a set thing. So I'm working on polishing that as I go. This is, so who's on top? So this, in the day and age, but also just in general, there's attention spans and character counts. So the one with less characters in the name. So Jesse Plemons, or I could think of it in my thinking of trying to spell it correct. Jesse Plemons with one M. And if there's a gap between the two, and their looks as well as their names were similar, could we as a human species be able to enforce a no blur zone? So I'm thinking, essentially, there's the Forbes wealthiest list, like the wealthiest people in the world. I was born approximately 1993, and like this one is so cool from like a language and literature and just like basic human survival and communication standpoint. Of we have all this technology, and there's always been communication before, and before technology even existed, and technology is used for communication still, in that sense. So communication is like the survival line that keeps technology alive. And so I was like, to have people, so it's Jesse Plemons and Jesse Plemons, let's say their looks are similar, like they look almost identical except for their faces are a little different. And then their names are similar, one letter different in the last name, and they both spell Jesse the same, Jesse. And then perhaps they're both like actors in Hollywood. And perhaps they've even their roles have been very similar and or overlapped, that kind of thing. And it's just like, as a human species, that's a lot of similarity. Could we actually be able to enforce the like no blur? Like as a species, we could differentiate, like, and tell that and identify that these are two different people, even though they're like in the same role. So the fight to not have the two confused could be so defining of a woke state, or it could be so defining of a woke state for the human species that I, Tanis, designated human evolution. I think, so do we get help on enforcement from other species? This is one that I think that would be such, I think for my own self, that would be such hope in the world if something like that happened and we're actually like, if one of these Jessies were number one on the Forbes list, I'd be like, hallelujah, something that matters at the top, right? Like it'd be nice that these lists and the wealth and the money and the technology and stuff weren't wasted, that something actually meaningful came for it. Like a lot of us live in fear of like, what if somebody has the same name? What if they lash out because they have the same name and they don't like what somebody's doing? What can we do as a human species to evolve and make it so that those fears of just basic survival, just basic living our life could go away? Quality of life, right? On a basic communication sense, but improving individually and collectively. I don't know. It'd just be like, I mean, would it be attention holding? Yeah, and like possibly very indicative of like a very woke species, a very woke world, very woke universe, whatever one wants to term it, for humans and our own operations. So So I think it'd be very cool. And for this, I support Jesse Plemons, Jesse Plemons, the one with the 1M, as top for wealthiest across all industries. So I'm not talking about some actors list here, like wealthiest actors. I'm talking wealthiest of everybody. Communication is something true for everybody, all industries. Plus, this video would mark my second at title level, in some way documenting his rise at name level. And thus far, I have not ever helped a person at the top of the Forbes wealthiest list on their rise in this capacity. Yes, so there's a little bit of like, because it'd be cool to see someone I'm investing in with my own YouTube content, so to speak, be at the top, and be at the top for something like that, where it's like, I work on confusion reduction for my cardiology self-experimentation. So while this is like a linguistic and language and communication thing, there's like an overlap with like, but that's also like physiology for me anyway. So it'd be like so cool just to be like, that's like physiology is our body and communication is communication between bodies. So that's everything that the humans have ever been, and like an actual like human anatomy sense. So I'm like, that would be everything and just transcend anything that's ever been at the top of that list. So it'd be very cool to get to be part of, not only part of something more than me, but to be there on like, and be part of the rise of that happening. And it's going to be very cool that there's like two people, right? Like it's about a dynamic and preserving what each has done and making sure they're not confused, and making sure they each get their like proper esteem, so to speak, and that it's not confused with the other, so that each is kind of preserved as their own. So there we go. That's what a Jesse Plemons and a Jesse Plemons on the Forbes wealthiest list be attention holding.